There's a face my eyes hunger to see.
In 1965, CBS made a decision that would shock audiences and haunt television history. Eric Fleming, the rugged face of Gil Favor, along with 4 other main stars of Rawhide, were fired in a single dramatic summer. Clint Eastwood was promoted to lead, but the network refused to give him a raise. Just 13 episodes later, the show that had captivated millions was gone. But what really happened on that set, behind closed doors, is a story that has been buried for decades, and it's far more complex and darker than most fans realize. The late 1950s and early 1960s were a golden era for Westerns. Prime time was dominated by gunslingers, sheriffs, and cattle drives. 8 of the top 10 shows were Westerns, with CBS already enjoying massive success with Gunsmoke. Into this landscape stepped Charles Marquis Warren, a man who didn't just want to create another Western, he wanted to redefine the genre. Warren didn't stumble upon Rawhide by chance. He approached it like an architect approaching a massive project, taking blueprints from multiple sources and fusing them into something audiences had never seen before. One of his key inspirations was his 1958 film Cattle Empire, a rough, gritty story of a post-Civil War cattle drive. But Warren needed more than cinematic inspiration. He needed authenticity. Digging through archives, Warren unearthed a forgotten 1866 cattle drive diary by George C. Duffield. Unlike the sanitized accounts typical of the era, Duffield's diary recounted relentless stampedes, deadly river crossings, and even the drowning of a cowboy named Carr in the Red River. It was brutal, unflinching, and exactly the tone Warren wanted for Rawhide. This wasn't a romanticized story of cowboys. It was survival on the trail, and it would become the show's backbone. Warren's credibility was further cemented by his time on Gunsmoke. He didn't just work on the show, he produced its entire first season and directed the first 26 episodes, earning $7,000 a week, an astronomical sum for television at the time. Networks knew that when Warren promised a show, it wasn't a pitch, it was a guarantee. Auditions for Rawhide were intense. Eric Fleming wasn't always the rugged figure audiences came to love. In 1942, a teenage Navy CB, he suffered a catastrophic accident attempting to lift a 200-pound weight. His forehead, jaw, and nose were shattered, requiring major reconstructive surgery. The irony of fate is that this accident, which could have ended his life, gave him the hardened features that would define Gil Favor. Clint Eastwood's journey to the role of Rowdy Yates was equally dramatic. During his audition, he failed to memorize the lines entirely. But rather than back out, he improvised with raw, unfiltered emotion, storming into the room and delivering a performance so authentic that it stunned the producers. His improvisation won him the role. Yet, behind the scenes, tension simmered. Fleming and Eastwood reportedly hated each other. According to multiple accounts, a physical confrontation nearly erupted behind a fence in Arizona, halted only by Fleming's calculation that Eastwood might have seriously injured him. Producer Charles Marquis Warren despised Fleming's constant complaints, calling him a colossal egotist and a miserable human being. Warren even staged fake screen tests with actor Gregory Walcott, not to hire him, but to intimidate Fleming, a manipulation that left lingering resentment. The hostility on set was palpable. Other cast members described a minefield of tension that made daily filming a stressful ordeal. Despite the chaos behind the camera, Rawhide thrived on screen. The show premiered in January 1959, quickly breaking into the Nielsen Top 20. It was praised not only for action sequences, but for authenticity rarely seen on television. Water shortages, stampedes, anthrax scares, land disputes with Native Americans, and bandit attacks were not sanitized drama. They were survival stories. Episodes drew directly from Duffield's diary, with Fleming channeling historical accounts in his performances, even writing 2 episodes himself. Rawhide wasn't safe or simple. It tackled subjects like morphine addiction, racism, and the lingering shadows of the Civil War, with a depth that made it both groundbreaking and controversial. Sheb Wooley, the actor behind Scout Pete Nolan, added another layer of fascination. Already a national sensation from novelty hits like The Purple People Eater, Wooley balanced a music career with the grueling schedule of Rawhide. Yet, behind the scenes, he contributed to Hollywood history in a way few realized. His scream, recorded in 1951 for the film Distant Drums, would later become the famous Wilhelm scream, heard in over 400 films from Star Wars to Indiana Jones. His life exemplified the duality of Rawhide itself, simultaneously part of mainstream culture and a hidden, enduring influence on the industry. As the years progressed, the show's pressures mounted. Eastwood resented playing a juvenile version of Rowdy Yates at 28, yearning for the gritty, adult roles that would later define his career in spaghetti westerns. Fleming's moods swung unpredictably, his constant threats to quit exacerbating the already volatile atmosphere. When Warren left the show in 1961, the guiding vision behind Rawhide dissipated. Subsequent producers struggled to maintain the series' momentum. By the time CBS made its fateful decision in 1965, the network had already begun reshuffling cast and budget, promoting Eastwood without a raise, and firing Fleming, Wooley, and other seasoned actors to cut costs. Fleming's fate was tragic. Just 6 weeks after leaving Rawhide, he was filming High Jungle in Peru. The jungle was real, the river treacherous. On September 28, 1966, he climbed into a dugout canoe with a co-star, attempting a daring swim to shore. The river claimed him. Despite rescue attempts, he disappeared beneath the water, leaving behind unfulfilled dreams and a legacy of grit and determination. His body was later used for medical study, and no formal grave marked his passing. Fleming's death underscored the perilous intersection of ambition, Hollywood risk, and the brutal realities of life beyond the screen. With Fleming gone, Rawhide struggled to survive. CBS moved the show from its loyal Friday night slot to Tuesdays, confusing viewers and breaking its rhythm. Ratings plummeted. New actors were brought in to replace departed veterans, but the chemistry that had carried the series evaporated. By the final episodes in December 1965 and early 1966, Rawhide limped to a quiet conclusion. The network's rural purge, shifting toward cheaper sitcoms like The Beverly Hillbillies, made it clear that westerns, once the crown jewel of prime time, were no longer profitable enough to sustain the high production costs of a show like Rawhide. Yet, the impact of Rawhide endured. It pushed boundaries, both socially and creatively, in ways few shows of the era dared. It portrayed nuanced depictions of race, addiction, gender, and power, all while delivering edge-of-your-seat cattle drives and survival tales. For Eastwood, it was the crucible that honed his iconic screen presence. For Fleming, it was a pinnacle of artistic achievement, tragically cut short. For audiences, it was a show that blended the harsh realities of history with the mythos of the American West. Rawhide is more than a Western. It's a story of ambition, talent, conflict, and loss. A mirror of Hollywood itself in the 1960s. Behind every rugged cowboy and every dusty trail lies a tale of human drama, power struggles, and sacrifices made in the name of storytelling. CBS canceled Rawhide, but the legend of its grit, authenticity, and the lives it shaped will never be forgotten.